Hi, Gay. Hi, Dee Dee. I hope you guys can hear me. Do I have audio? Okay, good. Gay, how you been doing? I was just thinking about you yesterday, day before yesterday. I haven't seen you in a while. All right, good. I'm glad to hear that. I got to type out my message for the chat room, guys. Hang on a second. And then I'm going to have to turn my AC down because it is very humid. Dee Dee, how are you doing today? Well, I understand that, so I'm happy to see you when you get the opportunity to come by. Okay, sorry guys, I got my arm in the way and stuff like that, but I got to get myself a little bit organized here. All right, now, before I do too much, I want to test my microphone system. Oh, you've been up for a while. I gotcha. Monty, good morning. I want to test my new microphone system. I want to make sure that you're actually hearing the new microphones and not the built-in microphone for the camera. You guys okay with helping me with a little bit of experimentation? Okay, so I have my new microphone. I'll show it to you here in just a minute. I have it just clipped onto the front of my shirt, my t-shirt. You might can see it right here. It's clipped onto the front of my t-shirt. So I'm going to get up and I'm just going to walk around my apartment a little bit. I want to know if you guys can tell that I have left the art table just by the audio, if it sounds like I walked away, or if if my voice pretty much stays consistent. I'm just going to move around a little bit and see if this thing works. So I'm not going to be reading chat. I am going to just be walking around. I only have to do this just for a few minutes, actually not even a few minutes. You'll know right away. Now it might sound a little bit hollowy right here because I'm in the hallway. So it's kind of like I just walked to the back of a cave. So you might hear that. I'm not real sure because I have the wind muff. So, but you should still be able to hear me. The volume should not have dropped out. So let's find out if that test worked. Now I'm just going to keep moving. I'm back in the living room. I'm right by the art table. I'm not at the table, but I am close to the table. You should not be able to really tell that though, because the microphone is still with me. I'm going to step outside my front door. Hopefully it maintains. Now there is some ambient noise going on out here from air conditioning units. But you should be able to hear me as I stand outside my front door. I'm hoping that you can. If everything's working, you will. Otherwise, if you don't, then something's not right. Okay, now I'm just going to come back in and see how that works. Hopefully, that worked the way it was supposed to work. Okay, now, how did it sound, guys, throughout that whole thing? Loud and clear the whole way. Awesome. That's what I want. Yeah, I figure you could hear ambient noise when I went outside. Is that right? Outside? Because my air conditioning unit was running and other people's have. Okay, I suspected that because of the air conditioning units. Okay, good morning, Sherry. Okay, good. Now, that's just one microphone. Now, I want to do another test. I'm going to take this thing off of my shirt. It's like I showed you guys. It's just clipped to the front of my shirt. So, now, I'm going to take this. I have to be careful because there's buttons on it. I'm going to set it up here on top of my light fixture, which is where I kind of plan to use it. Now, how does it sound sitting up there? It's not on my shirt. It's fairly close to where I'm at. So it should still sound good. Is there any kind of feedback in it? Okay, good. Do you hear any kind of feedback? Any kind of whistling noises or anything like that? Because it is somewhat close to the, okay, no feedback. Good. That is one thing I was concerned about. Now, I have two microphones. Oh, that is so awesome. Now, I'm going to take the other microphone. I'm going to clip this one. Well, before I do that, let me put it back in here. I want to put it back in here. I don't want it to be activated. I don't want it working. Now, with the microphone stationary, now last time I walked around, I took it with me. This time I'm going to walk down the hallway. I'm going to come back, but the microphone is going to stay right here at the table. You should be able to hear that I've walked away from it. You should be able to tell that. But I still want to know, does it sound clear? Can you still hear? And stuff like that. So I'm going to leave the microphone sit where I have it. I'm going to walk down the hallway and just come back. I'll talk to you while I'm doing that. And you guys let me know kind of what you were hearing, okay? So I'm going to walk away. I'm going to do just like I did last time. I'm going to walk right down to the end of my hallway. It will sound like I'm walking in kind of like into a barrel, into a cave, because essentially that's what I just did. I walked into a cave, which is my hallway, but I have the bedroom door closed, so it makes like a cave. All right, now I'm going to come back. I'm just going to come back over to the table, and you guys tell me, were you able to tell that I walked away from the table and then came back? Okay, that's what I anticipated, that the vocal would soften. That's a good word for it, because I was farther away. So I expected that. That's what I wanted to see. Now we're going to add a second microphone. Okay, that's what it's supposed to do. Now we're going to add the second microphone. I'm not going to use the second microphone all the time. I'm just wanting to test this new system. So now this one I am going to clip back onto the front of my shirt, just like we started out the first time. I'm going to put it right here. Now I'm going to do the same kind of test. This time I don't think you should not hear me walk away, because I'm taking a mic with me, but this is a different mic. This will tell us if the second mic is also working. It's going to be interesting, I think, because you'll hear this one. I don't know if you'll hear a slight echo, because this other one is going to stay here. So there might be, but I don't think so. Sound travels pretty fast. So we're going to do the same test again. My voice should remain constant. Here we go. So we're going to do this same test again. We're going to walk down the hallway. I have the second microphone with me. That's what I'm really hoping this thing works the way my mind envisioned it would work. So I'm in the end of my hallway. I'm just standing here for a second. Now we're just going to walk. I'm going to go right back outside my front door. So I'm going to cross through my living room again. But you really shouldn't be able to tell that. Maybe on the second mic that's over there at the table. Now I'm going to walk back outside again. You'll hear some ambient noise. Not quite as much as last time because my air conditioner is not running. I can hear some of my neighbors' air conditioning units running. So I'm just standing outside here for a second. It's going to be a hot, humid day. Sky's clear, and it's already very humid because it's been rainy. But today it's nice, it looks like. All right, now I just came back inside, and I'm going to come back over to the art table and sit down. So now, could you guys hear me walk away that time, or did it remain constant? Okay, so this system is actually working exactly as I had hoped. This is awesome. At least for what I'm doing here. Because I can have two people talking at the same time, two different microphones now. Okay, so I can put one of these back away. I'm going to leave the other one just sit up here. I don't need it attached to my shirt, but it's nice to know that I can. I really like this thing. I can leave the, I got to try to remember what's the transmitter and what's the receiver. I can leave the receiver plugged into this camera phone, and it can just stay there because I have it plugged in. It will charge and charge the phone at the same time. And then I can just plug this in and it will charge the microphones themselves. So that's really awesome. This is a big investment, but it works like it's supposed to. It wasn't until midnight last night that Stephen got this thing working. So, okay, that takes care of that. Now, before we go into the book, I told Dee Dee I would show her my pencil case after I got all the pencils put back in it, so you guys can see how I organize my pencils. I know everybody has their own way of liking it. Oh, you were gone for 24 hours? Okay, so here's what my pencil case looks like. You guys might want to I don't know. Some of you might be in shock. I'm not real sure. But here's what my pencil case looks like. When I have all my pencils in it, I actually enjoy seeing what other people have done with their things also. But, see, now you can imagine it takes me a little while to find pencils. But I don't ever, I don't use pencil numbers and color names. I just look for the color and I swatch it a little bit and see if it's going to work. Yeah, no problem, Monty. Just whenever you get to it, I'm not going to have that colored, so I'm not going to be done for a while. So anyway, that's my pencil case. As you can see, there's no rhyme or reason to it. If there's an empty slot, that's where the pencil goes. And that's how I do it. That's why I have said that I sometimes I think I just want to take everything and dump them into just one tote and just have them all in one tote instead of this thing. But anyway, there's that. Well, I can say it is colorful. I will have to spend some time hunting down pencils so I can do the matching. Okay, so today, now I did go to the doctor yesterday, guys, and I was not able to get everything done that I had thought I would. Yes, it looks like a Hawaiian rainbow, yes. My beard keeps getting in the way. So I went to the doctor yesterday, and I was supposed to have an echocardiogram and a stress test. I was not able to have the stress test done. I did have the echo, and then they did an EKG, and they told me that my heart is in AFib. I don't really know what that actually means, but I do know they told me that it's not good. So they did start me on some new medication, and I have to have some other tests and stuff like that done. They're going to see if they can't bring my heart out of AFib. So we'll hope for the best on that. I told them when I got to the doctor's office, because like I said, I was supposed to have a stress test. You walk on that treadmill. And I told him I didn't need to do a stress test. The drive over there was a stress test enough because the driver drove like a maniac. So I hope I don't ever get that driver again. Well, thankfully I'm not in that kind of condition, but they were concerned, so anyway, that's kind of a catch up, an update since Monday for me. All right, so let's zoom in on this picture a little bit. Oh, at one point, this guy was talking about people tailgating him, riding on his back bumper, and I was like, Casey and I just looked at one another because this guy was riding everybody's bumper. This guy was doing 70 in a 25. Oh, Dee Dee, I noticed you got your swatch chart filled out. I'll show you my swatch chart for my colors. because you can see I just did not get very far. Yeah, I told Casey if I wasn't wearing my seatbelt yesterday, I'd have ended up in the floor. Well, the thing of it is, I don't have any way to contact the company that he drives for. I didn't write down any phone numbers or nothing. There are several different companies that provide service in this area, and my insurance company just like, I don't know how they go about deciding which one, but this guy was not with the same company as the woman who drove me last week. But I mean, I felt kind of bad for this guy in one way, because this guy, they were expecting this guy to be so many places and didn't even give this guy enough time to be able to drive from one place to another place, following the speed limit and stuff like that. This guy had to be all over the place. Now, I don't really know what I'm going to start with here. And we'll zoom in a little bit farther. I don't think my focus is that good at the moment. I can't tell if the focus is that good or not. My vision is not very focused, I can say that. I haven't decided where I want to start. And I don't know that I'm going to actually be able to do the dragon the way I want to. Those scales are pretty small. But we'll see what happens. I've got to look for a particular pencil. I'm going to look for Dee Dee's favorite color. I'm just going to have to see if I can find it. Now, I don't know, do you guys hear a difference, like when I turn my head and I look over to, like, away from where the microphone's at? Oh, I think I found it. No, I didn't. A little bit of difference. Okay. Okay, so I can probably correct that by adding the second microphone. So let's just find out. I'm going to move this microphone. You may hear me touch the microphone here. You'll probably hear it kind of clang around, bang around a little bit, because I'm going to move it just a little bit. And then we're going to get the other one out. Now you're going to have to let me know if you hear any kind of feedback, because this one is going to be pretty close to the receiver. And a lot of times you'll end up getting feedback. Now I have a microphone on both sides. So I should be able to like, if I'm looking over towards my pencil case, or whether I'm looking over towards my pencil sharpener, it should, the vocal should stay pretty consistent. So what do you think about that? Does that remain a little more consistent than with just the one microphone as I look from one side to the other? Stabilization. Let me write that down because I'll have to go look for that later. And that's in the camera settings. Yeah, you will hear it's different microphones, and if you were wearing earbuds, you might even hear that in right ear, left ear. I'm not real sure how that works, but I suspect that that's how it would be. Okay, so I will go into that after this live stream because I don't think I can do it while I'm live streaming, or I don't want to risk it. Okay. I thought there might be a little bit of that. And I think that, like I said, I think that's because it's alternating ears. I think if you're listening on headphones or with earbuds, you would actually hear it go from one side to the other. I think. I don't know for sure. If anybody has headphones. Dee Dee, you have headphones? You would be able to figure it out. Okay, yeah, I know Dee Dee has headphones. So she can find out when she gets hers hooked up. Sorry, guys, we're taking a little bit of time doing something other than coloring, but for me, it's all about chatting with you guys anyway, so. Okay, Gay, can you hear like if I turn from one side to the other side, so that the other microphone is the primary microphone. As they switch back and forth, can you hear that from one ear to the other? I don't really know how they work because you can tell a little bit. Okay, that's because they're really close together. Yeah, it should be mostly in both because I'm sitting directly in between them. I'm sitting directly in between the two microphones. So even when I turn my head, my face hasn't moved. I'm still sitting in the same spot, just my voice is directed a little differently. So they should be fairly similar at the same time. But if I separated these a little farther and then I got up and moved from one side to the other, you would hear it fluctuate. You would hear me go from over here like this. You could hear as I came across in front of both of them and came over onto this side over here, then you would hear a little bit of difference. So, they're working like they're supposed to. I'm happy. I haven't decided for sure exactly. Okay, now what I did, Dee Dee, what I did on that one, I didn't turn my head. I actually just moved. I moved all the way over to one side beyond where that microphone is on this side, which would be my left. So I moved way over to my left, and then I rolled back in front of the table. I rolled back across the table, and now I'm way over by my pencil sharpener, way over on the right. And you should be able to hear that sound move because it's going from one microphone as the main over to the other one. Yeah, you will hear me out of both, even when because they're real close together, so there's no way to do that. But that's really cool because you can get that, like that ASMR effect and stuff like that, if you know what you're doing as far as on the microphone end. If I positioned them correctly, you could get that real cool effect in your ears if you're wearing a headset or earbuds. So that's really cool. Yeah, surround sound type, yes. So that's good. That's I'm really happy with this setup. I've been wanting to buy these microphones for a while now. They're very expensive, so I had to kind of save up some money. Now, I will tell you guys this. Like, these microphones are like you've heard the expression, the proof is in the pudding. Well, these microphones are like the proof, or my proof, that's in the pudding that I love you guys. In the last 2 months, I've invested $700 so I could sit here at this table and give you guys a better experience. Mary Jo, how are you? Thank you, Gay. Mary Jo, you haven't missed anything this morning. We've just been testing my microphones and stuff like that, so. I'm kind of sweating here. I got to turn my AC down a little bit. Now you will hear me walk away from the table now because I don't have a microphone attached to my shirt, so I am moving away from the microphones. Thank you, guys. All right, let's see, maybe we zoom in. Well, I'm not going to zoom in yet. I haven't decided even where I'm going to start, what I'm going to do. This is a cool looking page. I like this page. I'm glad Monty picked this page. Well, I think the thing for me to do is to start with some yellows. I mean, not yellows, but some greens, some yellows. Let me see if I can figure out what I'm going to do for some leaves. Maybe we'll start with some leaves. I never have a clue what I'm going to do. I never know for sure what I'm going to do until I actually do it. Because like I said, guys, I don't really color by color name, pencil numbers, and stuff like that. It might be helpful if I did. But then again, it might not be as much fun. I want to be able just to recognize the pencil for what it is. But that's not that easy to do. And some of my pencils, I anticipate. Well, now I will say that I do swatch. I look at my pencils and I think, okay, I like that color, and I will swatch them to see if they work together. A lot of times they really don't, and I'll have to go find something else. So I don't just like grab a pencil and start coloring with it. I do swatch them side by side so I can see if they'll blend. And I still get the blend wrong. Sometimes after I do something, like even in the last picture, the purples, I didn't really like the purples. I originally had picked out like 5 colors that I was going to blend together, and I ended up using 3. I should have used the 5 so I would get a smoother transition in the colors. But right now I'm just looking for some greens. I have and see, one thing too, I'm kind of looking for a certain color, and I think it might be a Prisma color. Hey, Real Farmer, how's it going? We'll get started at some point, guys, so I'm just not sure when. Okay, I'm going to need this one. This is one of my old standbys. Hey, Joe, good morning. Well, thank you very much, Joe. Good to see you this morning. I hope you're doing well. I hope you have a great day. Now, one thing that's kind of funny, guys, is I'll swatch these pencils and then I'll forget which one made which mark. And I'll end up having to swatch them 2 or 3 times to figure it out. Now, I wish I had a bigger monitor so I could read chat a little bit easier. I kind of have to stop and kind of get a little bit closer to be able to read chat. Actually, I can read it without my glasses, but not with my glasses. But I can't see the color without my glasses, so. Ah. I'm kind of wanting to try something a little bit different. Let me see. I may want to leave. Maybe I'll leave that out. All right, let some kind of gnat or something in when I was going in and out my front door. Okay, I need to find one more color here, guys. Let me see here. All right, I think I can use these right here. We'll get something a little bit different. I don't know how well it's going to work, so I'm going to do it on a now I can zoom in a little bit. I don't want to zoom in too much. Something about like that. And then I got to get the zoom back, or the focus back. There we go. So let me just see how this works with just a small leaf. I have to remember what order to use the pencils in. Wow, the music just quit. There we go, I got it back. Thank you, Dee Dee. I think that's gonna work for this particular picture. So let me see what I can. Thank you, Sherry. Actually, let me sharpen these pencils. I didn't even sharpen them. I think most pictures that I do, that if they have leaves in them, I tend to start with those because I kind of have like a set of greens that I like to use for the leaves. I'm doing something different this time, but I tend to start with the greens just because they're more familiar. Now we can go back down here. It's going to be better. I sharpened the pencils. Exactly. That's how I look at it too. At least I get something started. And once I kind of get started, then you can get the flow moving. Not that I ever really get the flow moving, but that's the principal idea behind it. And I don't know exactly what's going to happen up here. So I'm just using my lightest color. I'm going to go over these veins. I think a lot of times the veins are darker than the rest of the leaf, but in this case, we're going to put a little bit of light on it. My music keeps cutting out. I don't know what's going on. Why is this doing this? This is not supposed to be doing this. It keeps kind of wanting me to join Amazon Music, and I'm supposed to have Amazon Music. I have a Prime account. And it keeps turning my music off. It hasn't been doing that. Hi, Taylor. How are you? Well, coffee sounds like a good idea, although I very rarely drink coffee anymore. I was occasionally making a pot of coffee here, which I do like coffee, but I would get distracted and I wouldn't drink it. It gets cold and I just end up wasting it, so. Oh. Now these colors probably aren't going to show up real good just because they're lighter than what I normally use. Now, I know I tell you guys all the time, I don't know what I'm doing. And that is true. But I do think I'm beginning to understand some things a little bit better. Like along the lines of blending and being able to soften things down and stuff like that. Well, thank you, Dee Dee. I've been paying attention a little more to like the amount of pressure that I'm using, so it changes the volume of the pigment. And I can see how that really works with the blending and the layering and ultimately the movement of color. I still want to be able to rotate my page so it's easier for me to reach. and Sherry, Monty. I hope you guys are okay with the colors I chose for the little hunter. If not, you can do your own thing. I actually looked up some butterflies on Google, and I just went with something close to like a traditional monarch butterfly, something similar to that. Well, thank you, Sherry. It was quite a task to get 4 colors in some of those little tiny spaces. Because I did in fact blend 4 colors in each of those little spaces. I did get your email. I have it. I'm not sure when I will search for those, but I do have it. Yes, thank you. You know, I find that I really like the intricate part of stuff. Having to keep a real sharp tip on the pencil so you can get in that small spot. I like blending 4 or 5 colors. Oh, wow, that's it? I don't know how many I have in my set. Well, I don't know what this leaf is looking like on camera, but in person, it looks pretty good. Well, thank you, Sherry. It's always hard for me to know what colors you guys actually see, because for me, when I look at my laptop, that leaf kind of looks like it looks more golden than it does green. It looks like kind of golden brown colors, not green and yellow. Okay, Mary Jo. I think one thing I have figured out too is like sharpening the pencil more often will make it last longer. Now, I've been really hesitant to use black as a shadow, but I am going to try that on this picture to add a little bit of black. That's what I've kind of figured out is like if I sharpen it a little more often, I can literally just keep the tip sharp and it actually will shave off very tiny little bit of wood. And that's going to make the pencil actually last longer. Now I have to go very light with this black. Very light. Because I kind of want it to be transparent. Just to bring some definition. Thank you, Sherry. Welcome back, Mary Jo. Well, I hope that particular organization works out for you, Dee Dee. If it doesn't, you can always try my method. Monty, are you still here? I'm going to be using that dark gray violet on this dragon. And for those of you who don't know this, Gay Kin was my first regular chatter, followed by Monty. Oh, now, Mary Jo, that's exactly what I've been talking about. Storing my pencils like that. Put them all in the same pencil box. Now that is something I never knew about Ozzy Osbourne. That's something I never would have suspected about Ozzy Osbourne. Yeah, I was kind of just wondering if he was also an illustrator or if he just colored. I was just wondering about that. Now, can you guys hear that trash truck outside louder than you could before? Well, it might be hard to compare to what you were hearing before. That's what I was wondering. I was wondering if you could hear it clearer. And the only reason I was wondering that is because these are hopefully much better microphones than what the phone itself has in it, the camera. I might have been, quite frankly, because I have music in my earbuds. So I might have been whispering along with it unintentionally. I'm glad you mentioned it. I got to be careful. Y'all don't want to hear me sing. Trust me. But yeah, I probably was whispering along with it. We can do some ASMR. Yeah, those are good microphones because I just barely did whisper that. All right, guys, I need to take a quick break. I'll be right back. All right, guys, I'm back. Sorry guys, I get caught up in coloring and not talking. Yeah, getting fatigued real quickly is one of my issues. And so I did start two new medications yesterday. So they're going to see if they can get it under control. And then I have to have, instead of doing the stress test on the treadmill, they're going to inject me with radiation and some other stuff. They were saying that it can cause strokes, blood clots, it's like I don't really know how concerned I need to be. I'm not really that concerned at this point because I'm pretty sure my heart was in AFib last week when I was there. They just didn't know it. So I'm just going to carry on. I can't remember what they call it. There's a specific name for that particular type of stress test. They told me what it was, but I don't remember. Yeah, a lot of people have it. Like after the technician was doing the test, and she was telling me, she's like, oh, I think you have AFib. I got to do another kind of test so we can confirm it and stuff. And after she did that, she went and got the head nurse. And the head nurse comes in and she says, oh, your heart is beating funny. And I said, ma'am, my heart's been beating funny for the last 12 years. She did tell me that that was probably why I get fatigued real easy and out of breath. But this may affect my being able to have the surgery on my arm. At least at the time that this appointment is scheduled for at this point, because I just started the blood thinner. And they did tell me that a lot of times when they do surgery, they want you to halt any blood thinners for like a couple of weeks. And she said, where I just started it, they may not let me have surgery. Yeah, she said she did tell me that for some people it makes them feel funny for a little bit, for about 5 minutes or so. So I'm glad to know that you didn't have any type of reaction. Maybe I won't either. I won't be having that until first part of next month. Oh, when I first got sick in Hawaii, I lived on the third floor of a walk-up building, and I would have to go up like 7 steps, sit down and rest a bit, go up another 7 steps, sit down and rest. And I had like this, I bought like a camping stool, just a fold-up camping stool, and I rigged it up to my backpack. So no matter where I went, I always had someplace I could sit down if I needed to. Actually, I still have it, but it's broken. It got so old, it's not usable anymore. But I need to get a new one. But I don't really walk places anymore. I used to walk everywhere I went, or take a bus, but I did a lot of walking. I can see that happening very easily. I did mention that to the nurses yesterday, that sometimes I felt like, I don't know if I'm overdoing it, because we put a Band-Aid on a situation so I feel better, but the problem is still there. And I told her sometimes I felt like my heart and the heart medication were like competing, so to speak. Okay, Mary Jo, God bless you. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us today. I used to do freehand rock climbing, and in 1996 I ruptured 3 discs. And then after I kind of healed, I was out rock climbing again one time. And while I was on this cliff face, the thought crossed my mind, if my back goes out and I fall, well, I'm dead. So I had to quit rock climbing. And I still have a ruptured disc to this day. Yeah, I'm not really used to being as inactive as I am most days these days. I've always been very active, very athletic. That's how my phone is too, Dee Dee. Pretty much my head is resting against my phone. Now, one thing about that microphone too on your cell phone is you're not actually speaking directly into that microphone. And I can't remember what they refer to, like a unidirectional microphone. You kind of have to be talking directly in that phone. I could tell that with my phone. I could tell the difference in just which way I was facing when I was talking. it would sound different in that microphone. It's not like unidirectional or something. Yeah, you probably have a microphone on both ends, the top and the bottom of that phone. I've had that same kind of concern, Sherry. Even like when I started the medication they put me on a month or so ago just to start regulating my heartbeat, and I started feeling a little bit better. I was telling Casey, you know, once I start feeling better, you better look out. You won't be able to keep up with me in Walmart and stuff like that, because I normally like walk fast and stuff like that. And I do believe there is a degree of caution that still needs to be exercised. And it's easy to forget that. Oh, Dee Dee, I was going to tell you that my John Deere sign that I got on Farming Simulator looks really cool at night in those bushes. I'll show you tonight, because I ran the clock up to where it got dark at the end of my live stream on Monday, so I could see what that sign looks like. It looks really cool, but it's still nighttime. Thankfully, I didn't have any big John Deere fans in chat the other night when I was showing them that. So they were all okay with it being hid in the bushes. Got a little gnat over here that just keeps buzzing around. All right, guys, I think that's where I'm going to leave it sit for today. My back's getting a little bit sore. Thank you very much, Dee Dee. Gay, it was so nice to see you today. think we got a nice little start on it. I hope everybody has a great day tomorrow. Thank you, Sherry. All right, guys, I love you. I'll see you on Friday. Until then, God bless.